Hello, folks. Once again at it, bright and early, ready to go. I'm going over to my notes here. I want to read a couple of those. Hey, everybody. Little Red Riding Good, Deb, Kelly Jean, Millie Jones, MJ, Kyrie. Good to see how you guys. Holy cow. It's been a busy couple days. I didn't get to come on yesterday. I wanted to make sure I came on today. Already this morning, I'm having my fair share of petty annoyances, but you know how life is. So let me tell you what happened and why I had a lot planned for yesterday, so I wasn't necessarily coming on to chat with y'all yesterday, but Tuesday, in the morning, we got up, we noticed our heat was only like, "Hi, Murphy. Good to see Peter." "Hey, Derek. Good to see you." So on Tuesday, I got up and I noticed our the heat in the house was only like 55 degrees. I'm like, "Oh, shoot." And so, normally, though, what all that means is that the filter, you gotta change your air filter. So I'm like, "Okay, that's probably no big deal." So I went down and changed the air filter, and then right away, the temperature got up to 61, but, I usually leave our house at 65. We don't just we're in Wisconsin. You don't have to have a super warm house, plus it gets just too expensive. So, that the heat wasn't gonna and I was just kinda, like, putting it off all day long, and finally in the evening, I'm like, "Okay, something's wrong," but by then it was too late to call the service people. So overnight, it's like it starts, naturally overnight it gets colder. So I was like, well, it wasn't registering this as a problem. I'm just like, it's gonna take time. So for the house to heat up. But then I realized like, okay, we're in trouble. And then overnight, so I was checking the furnace and you power it off and power it back on, and it was kicking off. That the flames would start and then it would kick off. So it's like, so then you're worried about your house freezing and all your pipes freezing. These are things people don't have to worry about. Yeah. Which one, Sandra? I'll go look at it. The post from this morning or yesterday. I'll make sure I go look at that. Yeah. So it was powering off. So like, so I was downstairs, and if I would turn off the furnace, but then I had to hang out in the basement, and I didn't sleep very good. So Wednesday, I called up. I got the guy, and so he was in the house the whole day, and I had all the hi Howard. I had all this stuff going on, and it's just a little bit distracting when I'm trying to do these lives and focus on these lives when there's a person in the basement and the dog's freaking out and all that. But he ended up spending the whole day, and I'm just like, "Oh, crap," because, the parts are never all that expensive. Yeah, Lynn says, "Had pipes freeze only once here in Cali." Yeah, okay. Okay, good, Sandra. Sandra wrote a long comment, and I'm excited to read. So thank you for that. I love the yeah, time to I love the snow though, and actually it's only 2 months a year, then it's kind of bad. Yeah, yeah. People are keep saying I was wondering why you posted a few hours ago. Yeah, I always post on my other one. Well, I'll go double check. Maybe I misscheduled something and something's out that I didn't know about. So anyway, yeah, I was kind of up all night from Tuesday to Wednesday, and I had a couple really important meetings to do, and I had to deal with the furnace guy, and I was really tired. I actually was getting to that point of tired, because you spend a whole day awake, and then it's just then like little things start to just crush you, because I went to pick up my daughter from school, and as I was driving back, there's this little incline that leads to the house, and I hit the brakes, and it starts grinding, and I'm just like, "Oh, now I got to worry about brakes too," and I don't know what this furnace is gonna cost because it's the service, the hours of service that, we just had the guy come and do we had a pipe burst in the basement. Well, that one was just from old age. It wasn't from cold. It was like this 100-year-old drainage pipe. It finally just rotted a hole in it, about the size of a pea. And good morning, B. And so I was like, so he comes and all the parts. I mean, he had to remove this whole pipe, install all this new stuff, and all the parts were like $20 in plastic tubing. But then the service work was like $250 an hour. So I've had this, yeah. So I had this service guy doing my furnace all day yesterday, and I'm just like, he's been here 8 hours, and it's like at this point it'd be cheaper to put in a new furnace than it would be to pay for this. And I asked him about that. He's like, "Actually, you're still under warranty." So I'm like, "Well, that's amazing. That never happens." So that made it like at least it was warm last night. So last night I got a good night's sleep. Good to see you all guys again though this morning. I missed jumping on, and this has been my just kind of spontaneous live where I get to talk to you guys. And yeah, I wonder what this Derek. What was the post I posted a few hours ago? I always on my other newsletter. I'd rather be writing. I try to do something every morning. Yeah, well, Derek, yeah, anti-lock brake system jolts when sliding. Yeah, I mean, I've lived in Wisconsin and driven on ice for, 32 years. So, yeah, you're right. It makes that drrrr when it's the anti-lock brake system. This sounded more like it sounded like a rock had got between the brake pad and the rotor because it started to grind, and I'm like, "Oh, shoot, does that mean the pads have worn down to nothing?" But then it went away, so maybe it was just a rock. You're thinking of these things. But the problem was that here I was exhausted. I made an appointment for that too. There's a reasonable garage, and maybe it's nothing. Maybe I was just kind of freaking out because, like Murphy just said, when it rains, it pours. But I mean, if it's fine and I have to bring it in, they look at it. It probably needs a new brake job. It's you have to change those pads. I run everything I run as an old car. I always do that just because that's another one of the grand deceits. In America, you can always hear that coffee. Sorry about that. You can hear me slurping on my coffee on the microphone. I should stop doing that. Yeah, but it's like one of the grand deceits is what people spend on their vehicles. I mean, I lived my entire life just kinda cutting the corners on all these things and avoiding this. I know Murphy's done that too, being a traveling guy. When you get like, when I first went to Peru, I just went for a trip, and then I got down there and I'm like, "Gee, it's kinda nice where I'm just renting this room for $100 a month, and, like, none of these other bills that used to come in the mail are coming anymore." So it's just like, gosh, I'm free, and now all I ever want, is a room of my own, I think it's Virginia Woolf, "A Room of One's Own." All That's all I want is just my room of one own to write and to have wonderful group of people like you. I mean, to pay attention and just so I can share these thoughts with you. And that's what I want to do in my life. I loved being a teacher too, but it's nice that I get to talk to adults and cover things and not have any restrictions. And it is important. I mean, I do kind of rankle at that too because our education system in the United States, I think, does. I just told, and in the interview I did yesterday, I said, we teach history, we teach US history like it's the Epstein files, all the truth is redacted. I said that to that gubernatorial candidate. She goes, her eyes got wide, like, and I know she's going to use that. And so that's good. But yeah, we do need to have restrictions on what's taught in public schools because there's a lot of bad actors out there. But I prefer this where people can come to me by choice and we can talk about things and I can listen to what you say and change my message when you prove me wrong. And I'm open to being proven wrong. Let me see what B says here. I so feel you. Our daughter has wrecked her car 3 times in a row, not her fault, but she's got our car now, which is frustrating. And yeah, and that's why I mean my previous car just died. I mean, when you get to be, we had a string of like minus 25 below days, and that kills cars. And but I mean, I bought it in 2019 with 186,000 miles on it for $3,000, and it went till now. And it's just like consider that because a lot of people they go in for a new car and they'll spend $50,000, and then they're just like because it gets all handled, and you're just paying your monthly bill, which is whatever they pay. Because I've never had a loan that big, $600 a month, and then they're just like, well, that's handled. But you can buy a car that will last you for 7-8 years for $3,000, and in this, you could do that years ago. It's probably more like $6,000 is what you could get a car for these days. And especially when it's young people, they'll run fine, and they should actually learn because young people are going to run the oil out of your car. And then you're only out $6,000, and you don't have to have the additional expense of all the insurance. So yeah, Howard's got a 2012. Great. What does Amber say? We're in the same boat regarding the unexpected housing expense and car issue repairs. At least the company, yeah, we're in good company together. And but look into it one time. There are always you don't have to go to the big dealership. That's a mistake. There's usually these used car dealerships. Hi, Neurodivergent. Hi, Diana. Howard, Joe. There's usually these smaller, and they get a bad rap, like it's dishonest, but you can find good vehicles. And if you're only spending, it's the same thing. I do the same thing with phones. I buy a refurbished phone. Yeah, 6 or 7K for a decent car. My rule used to be hi neurodivergent. Rule used to be when you are a value. I've written about this a bunch of times, but I never can get anybody to read this article, so I'm going to stick it to you guys now. My rule used to be expect to drive it for 10,000 miles for every $1,000 you spend. So if you buy a car for $10,000, you should realistically hope to get 100,000 miles out of it. It's hard to hit that, is what I've found, but you can be pretty close. So I mean, yeah, if you get a car with 100,000 miles on it, if you can get it for 10 grand, that's probably a pretty good deal. And these Subarus, I always drive Subarus. Yeah, ever. 26-year-old Subaru Outback will keep repairing as long as possible. Sturdy than anything new. Only wish it had better gas mileage. The thing about those Subarus, well, they're great for Wisconsin because they're all-time four-wheel. That's all we drive. And they're all-time four-wheel drive. And they've got what's called this boxer motor. So instead of putting the pistons like this, the pistons are like this. So it they cancel out the vibration. So those motors just last twice as long because the vibration is canceling out. So then they don't, because you get these cars like this and the cars are just rattling, and that steady vibration just causes things to break, after decades of rattling. So yeah, I love the Subarus. Yeah, a Subaru with 100,000 miles on it is just getting broken in. That to me is a new car. Buying one with 0 miles on it is like, at that point you don't know if the factory defects are in there. I think there's big risks there too. Lefty says, "Good to see you, Lefty." Oh, I'm glad Lefty's here. I'll mention something in a moment. I drove my 2006 Hyundai until 2022. It's still on the road with the person I gave it to. I had 200. Yes, when I gave it away, and you can do that. I've donated cars to. Once you get to over 200,000 miles, you're not going to get any trade-in for it. But if you can, ride them till they die, you save yourself a lot of money. 2 years. I bought it when it was 2 years old for 11K. Yeah, that's a great car deal. Super for 10 years. But because Lefty Prof is here, I do want to mention something really important. And Lefty Prof was on with us the other day. I had a group meeting and we brought in Natasha K. And yeah, I mentioned this, and Lefty Prof called it out, but I mentioned it too because we were with a group of guys and we brought in Natasha K. And she was giving a point, and then we had that. There can be these issues with these delays sometimes with speech, and I think that's what happened. And then the other guys in the chat started kind of changing the subject, and it was one of those things where I'm glad Lefty was like, "Hey, go back to what Natasha was saying," and Natasha she mentioned the same thing in the chat. She's like, "Oh no, it was just the mic thing." But I think it is really important because I've been thinking a lot about it, and I did eventually manage. I mean, I probably could have been like, "Everybody stop, we got to finish this." Yeah, but eventually, what I did, and I'm reflecting on how I handled that situation, because when it came back time for me to talk, I gave a brief introduction, and then I said, "Let's go back to what Natasha said." So it's one of those things because, like, especially because I'm in a group of guys, and these are I feel they're very sincere, and we're all trying to do better. We're trying to be better, but men over talking women is something it pisses me off too. It really does, and it's just a habit. And a lot of times too, but part of that situation too was it's like the three of us had gotten there, so it's sort of like if you're out for drinks and everybody's sitting down having drinks, and then somebody's a late arrival, it takes a second for them to merge, so I was really reflecting on that a lot, and I actually apologized to Natasha K. I don't know if you stuck around to the end, Lefty, but I made a point of apologizing to her, even though I think we did do better before the end of the talk. But I said I apologize. We had to figure that out a little bit, and it always kind of happens when there are multiple people speaking. You get overspeak. I mean, I get that a lot too with Nick, and it's just I interrupt him, he interrupts me. It's okay. We kind of got that familiarity. No, but you're right. Lefty, I'm so glad that you pointed it out, and you were the one in the chat. It was like, go back to what Natasha said. I'm like, I hear you. I'm trying to get back there. I'm trying to do it in a way, but I've been thinking about it a lot. Yes, and no, B, and right. I think it's really important. I'm just trying to emphasize this. Other men have to stand up and stop it when men are over talking women. And this was a case I didn't feel it was malicious, so that's the way I responded the way I did. But I am also aware that other people might watch that replay and have issue with how I responded, and I've been thinking about it. It's like I probably could have said something sooner. I handled it a certain way. I talked to Natasha about it afterwards. And so, I mean, it was like it's a question of it being like 3 minutes later versus like instantly. And I'm thinking about that still. So this is one of those other things I do want to continue to be a little bit more mindful of. I think I'll have some other conversations with people just to make sure. Yeah, I mean, and it's just so common. I mean, and well, thank you, Lefty. But I just I wanted you in particular to know. Lefty said you did more than most men would, Walter, and it's a good group of men. So there's that difference of it being some tech issues. Cause I mean, we are all just kind of regular people. We're not like these media professionals. And so sometimes, and then there was a moment that was just kind of comical. We were all trying to give Natasha time to speak. We're like, go ahead and speak. And everybody just sat there quietly. And right when she was about to speak, we're like, go ahead. And then it was just sort of like this, when you get caught and they like going back and forth. So a lot of that is just kind of like, I've been doing this a year now. Yeah, I'm not the person who sits in front of the microphone all day long. I don't have that professional thing. Okay, good. Thank you, B. I'm glad you thought I handled it well. And I've just been reflecting on how to do better. And it's got to be bigger than just this one thing. Like if I'm in a malicious thing, if it's, I'm not in too many discussion groups with people that I fundamentally disagree with, though. I mean, we have these minor disagreements, and I guess that kind of is a segue into what I titled this talk about how don't let the assumptions get in the way of fact. And this is ongoing. And one of the things that's been on my mind, I just had a really wonderful email conversation with Will Fullwood about this. And it's just like, no, Lefty Prof says, sorry if it feels like my job is calling people out. I was feeling the same frustration. And I wanted to make sure we got the conversation back to what Natasha said because she was saying important things. And I was trying to diagnose how it happened. So it's something I'm mindful of. And I just wanted to address it real quickly. I love Natasha K. She's so fantastic. And she's coming out a little bit more. And it's just you see people as they start to find what they're trying to say, they're finding their voice better on this platform. And she's really over the last week come out great with some of the things that she's saying, and it's so validating because she worked within the Harris campaign, and she has a lot of frustrations about how the DNC is handling things. And I wanted to write. I've got the notes. I don't know if you saw the notes I put out today, but I was kind of on this a little bit. Um, I wrote, the DNC is like an unfaithful man that is more worried about his mistress than his wife. He comes home and complains to his wife about how his mistress doesn't respect him. Then he wonders why he's unpopular at home, and we're getting sick of it. And there's all this normalized stuff. And that fits into this topic of our assumptions that I wanted to talk about. But there's all this normalized stuff that we just obey. When I was talking with Francesca Hong yesterday, and I was with Melissa Corrigan, who is also fantastic. I don't know if you know, she's at Counterstory Media, and she's currently having a lot of issues being harassed by ICE in her area. I know she would really appreciate some more free subscribers and paid subscribers. She's wonderful. So it was me and Melissa and Fran Hong, she's running for governor of Wisconsin. And I've talked to a lot of candidates, and she almost brought tears to my eyes. Yeah, thank you, Amber. I mean, I was exhausted anyway from being up all night, but she is just so great. And we see in these real people candidates, where they're actually willing to answer questions. I mean, you contrast that. Yeah. Oh, she needs some support from us if anyone can manage it. And that can be just sharing that interview as big support. We got to elevate her. If you know other sources, other news sources that'd be willing to talk to her, just talk to her. I think she has the potential. Natasha K was talking about her. She's great, Derek. But now I moved on to Fran Hong. And she's the kind of candidate that I think she could do a Mamdani. I think she could just explode in popularity. She was leading the last poll that they took. If she's on the ballot for governor in Wisconsin, and somebody mentioned too, you contrast her with somebody like Jeffries, who they ask him a simple question. Could you not take APAC money? He's just like, well, you'll see that if you add up and divide all the contributions I take, it adds to like 27. It's like, do you think we can't do math because you've got an Ivy League degree and we're all just dumb state school educated people? I mean, yeah. I mean, if you've got lots and lots of people that are paying you a penny, then you can divide up and kind of hide the amount you're getting from APAC, but we're not stupid. Just say you won't take the APAC money. And that's Jeffries I'm talking about. Whereas, so you get all that constant dodge, they dodge. They can't answer a question. Just answer the damn question. Fran was the one where I would start to ask a question and it was like she was reading my thoughts and she'd answer, she would give the answer I was kind of hoping for, but also like the last half of the question I was trying to ask. So she is wonderful. I mean, just watch that interview. Please watch it. Please share it. All the people here, 53 more shares. A lot of you probably have shared it already. Share it again. Share it 20 times. Every time you can, if you've shared it once, hit share with a note. And so add a note and share it multiple times a day, all of you. That would be very, very helpful. Because if people see her, and she's so wonderful. And the words she uses too, she was like, I have resting bitch face, she says. I'm like, that's not true. I mean, she just is delightful. And I told her, I'm like, to me, your face says integrity and it says authenticity, and she's always smiling. But at the same time, I think she's a person who'll fight for us. So, I mean, I haven't necessarily seen that anger side of her, but I'm sure if she's sitting down with her colleagues that are these passive pedophile enablers, I bet then we'll see the fight, and I trust her. I would this is my rule right now is don't vote for anybody you wouldn't trust to, watch your kids for 2 hours. Seriously, folks, because what they are in charge of is actually even more. I mean, we displace it, but we give them this power that gives us that power over our kids. So yeah, Fran needs support, and she's one of these people too. Because if you are like me and you are frustrated with the Democratic Party, if you're frustrated with the Democratic Party, because they try to rig these primaries, they try to put people in there that will be beholden to corporate money. They do that. That just came up. I was talking with Emily Berge, and she was on the news because in her primary, the Democratic Party is giving all this money to her opponent. She's just like, we don't need Washington to come in here and tell us in this district who the people want. We need the people of this district to vote. That's what we need. So yeah, I mean, she is awesome. She was awesome. And yeah, so just stop donating to the Democrats. Donate to people like Fran. Another one I saw too, and this is like, don't let the assumptions get in the way of the facts. Yesterday, I saw this video of this woman, and she was crying because she'd gone and voted for Tallarico instead of Jasmine Crockett. And she was just crying. She says, that was so difficult, but we need somebody who can win. It's like, Jasmine is the one who will win. And they've got that assumption, that indoctrinated DNC assumption, that is racist. The establishment is racist. There's plenty of racists they tolerate in the establishment Democrats. Natasha Kaye is somebody I talk often with about forming a third party. I think that's a useful effort. And this is a place where we're approaching the problem from different angles, where Natasha's been really a proponent of creating a new party. So has Will Fullwood. They're really just done with the Democrats. A lot of people are. I'm still willing to try and transform the Democrats. Now, because I'm a transformationist and they're rejectionists, that doesn't mean we should hate each other. We can both work these angles. They could be good things. And good. I'm glad to hear that Crockett is ahead of Tallarico. Tallarico is a plant. I mean, he should have run for governor is what he should have done. That was the plan. Instead, there are consultants within the Democratic Party who deliberately sabotage the party, particularly black women. And that is why we have a fascist government right now and not Kamala Harris. All they had to do was recount. I honestly believe that. And these assumptions too. I mean, I get so much of what I do. So much of what I do is battling people who come at me with assumptions. I wrote one. The other thing I mentioned, yeah. Oh, got a piece of hair or something. Yeah, and then why reinvent the wheel? The Working Families Party. Yes, that's the one that Natasha Kaye keeps pushing, giving them some more visibility. Any of you, if you know people in the Working Families Party who want to come on and talk, absolutely put me in touch with them. The power is with you guys. The power is so much with you guys. And again, please, I mean, a lot of people talk about activism. I mean, we're seeing more and more too. Your weirdo friend was posting how we're seeing more of this algorithmic censorship where they'll click like on a post and then that like will disappear. And so, I mean, it's got to be friends. I mean, the wealthy people control everything. They control this platform. Let's be real for a second. And I'll likely at some point have to take my email list and go to Beehive or go somewhere else. I should probably do that now. I should probably talk to Wendy the Druid and get something set up because she knows how to do it. But you guys, I need your help so much. I mean, the paid sponsorships is super, super big, especially with my brake. My brakes need to be fixed on a new furnace. But I mean, do what I said to. Please, just make sure you restack restack multiple times. You don't have to do it once. Restack it multiple times and restack it to your other socials and just talk to people about that interview with Fran. Try to get people to support Fran. But I need you guys to do that. I mean, it's a big ask because I know I'm so grateful. Somebody comes and clicks like. The restack is actually more important. So click both of those, write a comment and hit restack again. So the comment goes to, so keep going. And then come back to the ones that are important. Keep sharing them. Keep doing it over and over again. These things are not just like one-shot deals. They're not single serving articles, particularly when it's an interview with a candidate like Fran Hong from Wisconsin, who, we might be looking, she could pivot from Wisconsin. It's a swing state. She could be a presidential candidate, after a couple terms. But yeah, well, let's see, Wendy. I feel like Fran is too much for the older generation in Wisconsin. See, that's one of those assumptions that we are they make us yes, and I know. See, what you're talking about is a really, really important and good point. I'm glad you brought it up. Because we get pressured into talking into believing these assumptions from the elitists, and then we vote against our best interest. In the primaries, just vote for the person you want. Vote for the person you want every time, please, please, please. Explain the post. The post I'm talking about is the interview I did with Fran Hong and Melissa Corrigan. Please restack that because it shows how our politicians could be because she listens to me. And let me just kind of look at this real quick. Yeah, they said Crockett is ahead of Tallarico right now. Yeah, I mean, Crockett's the one that's going to win. Every poll says that. So stop even, and people need to get over themselves. We get too many of these people that consider themselves liberals, but then they vote against people like Jasmine Crockett. In the primaries, vote your heart. That's what the whole point of the primaries is. And don't start in with this, wow, we got to listen to what the Ivy League, these Ivy League assholes are the people that are in the Epstein files. They try to pressure us with their superior money education. They're scum. Start voting for state school educated people, state regular working class people. So maybe let's go through this. Been a member. Oh, okay. You've been a member of the Working Families Party. Great. Neurodivergent. If you know people, yes, please bring them over. Howard said, yes, you should back up. I do regularly download my email list. Yeah, and Substack, the censorship, the algorithmic censorship is happening. So please, I mean, I'm a case study for that because they are deliberately suppressing me. That's always been the case. So thank you for finding me. Thank you for being here. But I'm one of the type of people that really, really needs you, both your financial support, much more than millionaires like Kinzinger and all those other ones, but also just for the restacks and just telling other people, if you have email lists, you can send these things to, encourage people to sign up. We need to get this bigger so we could get more visibility for candidates like Fran Hong. Yeah, and we were talking about this. Too much for the older generation. See, and that's the thing is the reason the jerk, the fascist is in power is because he just speaks, hello, cat. He just speaks not he doesn't avoid answers. He doesn't give that Ivy League answer because he's incapable of speech really. And so people are just so fed up with these Hakeem Jeffries style, I'm going to be so clever because I've got an Ivy League degree and you're not going to be able to understand what I say. That's what people have rejected. And so a person like Fran Hong, I think is absolutely the type of person that can win the older people, the older generation in the state of Wisconsin. I absolutely believe that. All right. Yep. Vote for the best candidate. I think I covered that. But thank you, Wendy. Yeah, keep it going. And good to see Kat here. And then we have Kathy says, I'm in Illinois, but asked friends in Texas about Crockett versus Tellerico. They said Crockett, and that it all seems, yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, remember, everything in the media is corrupt. Everything is bought by the same corrupt people that are in. Yeah, John, how old are you calling older generation? I think what they were referring to, that was Wendy's post. And yeah, there is a farmer class, couple generations older. I guess there's not, maybe one generation older than me. And as a resident of Wisconsin, I know what Wendy's talking about. There's a certain farmer class that you only reach them if you talk a certain way. And the assumption is, see, again, I'm talking about the danger of these assumptions. Don't assume that because somebody has an Ivy League degree, they know more. I know more about the state of Wisconsin than anybody that went to an Ivy League school in Boston. I mean, I lived here my whole life, so I know more about the people here. And they get so high on their assumptions and their sense of superiority because this assumption thing is a white supremacy thinking. When you believe a narrative over the facts and then you cause a fight with somebody because they disprove using facts, your narrative, you kill progress. And so, yes, I think absolutely people in the state of Wisconsin can rally behind a person like Fran. Character speaks volumes. Kat says, I think Taylor is better at crossover. You know what, though? I don't think Kat says that. I don't think it's true. I think more see, the assumption is among the establishment Democrats that there is this crossover, but they actually, the MAGA likes progressives more than nobody likes the center. And the other thing, too, I keep saying, I said this in an interview yesterday with Fran Hong is, look, if you're a Democrat, don't try to appeal to moderate Republicans. If you want to appeal to moderate Republicans, run as a fucking Republican. Go join the Republican primary then. If that's all you're worried about, go transform the Republicans. Jump in with your Republicans and make the Republicans, it's Hong, I think. Make the Republicans come more to the left. You can do that too. It doesn't always have to be that the Democrats are just trying to appeal. Like I said, Democrats are like the faithless husband who leaves his family at home to go have an affair, but then the mistress rejects him. And then he comes home and complains to his family, "Oh, my mistress rejected me." And the family's like, "Fuck you." And he's like, "How dare you? How dare you? If you don't respect me, and I'm just trying to form a coalition here." I mean, it's ridiculous. And we have to stop assuming that these Ivy League silver spoon Democrats who constantly oppose any kind of progressive action have a valid viewpoint. Just stop it. I'm just going to start saying this. It's really effective. They'll start in with, "We got to do a coalition. We got to do," it's like, look, I think you need to appeal to Democrats. Are you running as a Democrat? Appeal to the Democrats. I mean, just say that to them. It makes them look foolish. And there's so many arguments out there, that are assumed, again, don't let your assumptions get in the way of fact. We only think these assumptions are valid because they've been repeated, and now everybody's fed up, so they're just like, this is all bullshit. And if we start calling out these faulty assumptions for what they are, they will dismantle, and we have to reprogram how everybody thinks. I get so many people who come out at me and they're trying to lecture me about how I'm wrong. One guy today is like, "You're so wrong. We got to appeal to the moderates. They won the popular vote in 2016. They won in 2020, and then it's like it seems like we got cheated in 2024." And I'm just like, what you're saying is nonsense. First of all, you're talking about election you lost as if it's a win, and I'm absolutely tired of Democrats doing that. "Oh yeah, even though we lost by 5 points and it was probably election fraud, look at how many more people turned out for us." That's just, you lost. That means you failed. It's like you need to change how you're thinking. And the constant pressure of me, the reason that we keep failing is we keep using their strategy and they refuse to listen to any constructive criticism. And because I'm not all in on this nonsensical strategy that's been disproven again and again, all their energy comes to come after me. And it's like, you can call these. What I should have done is invited that guy to a live to debate it right then. But I don't know. You never know. It might have been just a bot. All right, let me establishment Dems need to go. Yes, please go to the primaries, everybody. Just go to the primaries and just vote out all the incumbents. I mean, I can say that there are some good incumbents. I recognize that. They'll get elected again. And the good incumbents will also be the ones that say, "Yeah, vote out all the incumbents." So that's kind of your benchmark. Amber says, "I love that you said Fran represents the leaders and representatives we could have." That's exactly, and yes, and because she has the courage to just come and talk to me. Hakeem Jeffries isn't going to do that. And look, they lose the messaging. Democrats lose the messaging because the Republicans have all these just complete assholes like Joe Rogan and they used to have Charlie Kirk, and they would platform those guys and let them go out. But the Democrats, they would rather go on to Joe Rogan's show and just normalize his bullshit than come onto my show and start doing the hard work of normalizing rational thinking and compassion and kindness. See? And that's what we have to change. We have to pressure our Democrats. Because if they were to come and talk to me, I'm doing the message. Like, today is the message. We want to defeat fascism. Today is the message. The messaging is really important. I've had people be talking lately about how, okay, you got to get out and do active community. This talk is really important. We have to have a good strategy. We have to change the hearts and minds of the people. We have to put aside those false assumptions that cause us to work against ourselves and enact a new philosophy that actually works, that actually has a chance of working. We need to pressure. Pete Buttigieg should be out here. And if Pete Buttigieg came and talked to me, and I mean, he's smarter than he's a better debater than I am. I don't think he has anything to risk, but I am going to ask certain questions. And Fran Hong listened to those questions and responded. And Emily Berge listened and responded. And Chris Armstrong, all these guys these people that I've talked to, they all respond. And it doesn't have to be like Hakeem Jeffries saying, "I don't understand a word you say," being this disrespectful asshole. There's no need for that. I'm asking reasonable questions. And they try to present people like me, "Oh, he's just like this unimportant voice." And it's like, the whole thing is corrupt. And they deliberately censor voices like mine because we don't want decency in this society. They're getting rich on it. Let me finish Amber's comment here. That's the kind of Fran Hong is the kind of leader we should have, one that listens to real people. And that's exactly what the talk made me feel: inspired and excited at the realization we could all have candidates willing to fight for us like her, but also so frustrated at realizing that we've been accepting and settling for. And Fran's a person, she's owned a restaurant. I mean, really working class. She knows the struggle. She knows what it's like to have to choose whether you pay for your heat or not. That's what we need. We don't need silver spoon corrupt assholes, because these rich, corrupt people who have been to Ivy League schools, who are probably in the Epstein files, let's be fair, if they've never in their lives had to experience struggle, they just look at public office as an opportunity to further enrich themselves. We know that's true. And I think, once you get people in office, you give them that power, yes, there's always a chance that they'll be corrupted. But I have a lot more faith in working class people being put in those roles because they know how hard it is. And they know that if they take the money for themselves, they actually have felt the pain of being cold and not having, and being hungry and not having enough. So it torments them. And if we put in these Ivy League silver spoon assholes who have never felt those things, all they see is the money, which they then take. And they don't even have an awareness of how much they hurt us with their lawless behavior and their cruelty. And so that's why we need to just change. And so this assumption, Ivy League people, they know so much bullshit. They teach you the same things in a physics class in Harvard that they do in a physics class at the University of Wisconsin. I had a professor in college who had been, he'd organized one of the missions to one of the moons of, where I think it was a moon of Jupiter, to find water on one of the moons. And he'd been at the top. He was just, we asked him once, why are you here? And he's just like, why aren't you teaching at somebody? He's just like, to be absolutely honest, he actually told us the state school students were the ones that work harder, and there's just as much talent there. And he just preferred to be here. And so that was really validating. I have these little experiences all through my life that have added up, these little droplets that have added up to the whole. And so I can speak confidently on these things. But I'll go. You sit me down at the test with just about any, but I think Buttigieg would beat me on most tests because he's pretty darn smart. But there's most of the rest, I would dominate them on test. Just give me any kind of test. I don't care what kind of test it is. Let's see. Let's put a camera on me, put a camera on them. We'll take these tests and see who's better. I don't care. If they show that they're better than me, awesome. That means we got a good person in there. If I dominate them, like me against the president, in any form of competition, I would just destroy him. And, it's like, why should we settle for that? We shouldn't. Okay. Yeah, Lefty Prof. We've all been boondoggled by the DNC, and it's hard. See, this overcoming these assumptions, these false assumptions, is a hard process, and it's a long process. And I get concerned because there are a lot of times in Loretta Ross's book, Calling In. You need to go get this book, Calling In by Loretta Ross. And she mentions me in that book. She'd read a couple of my articles. And she has a life of activism, and she talked about these times when there seemed like there was a progressive movement about to happen. You get all these groups, but the left-leaning groups tend to get into infighting, and they can't form a coalition. And the problem is, we are all indoctrinated in the United States. Even if you're an extremely progressive left-leaning person, we've all been indoctrinating to this ideology that enables white supremacy, and it causes us to have fights. And we have to get back, as I was talking about before, academic disagreements, where we have to recognize when somebody is our ally, and if they have a different perspective, it doesn't mean that they are then evil and they need to be blocked. It means that we have to take some time and, do it to protect yourself, protect your mental health, but process what they're thinking. Sometimes it takes a week or a month, especially if it's something you've been indoctrinated to believe. But assumptions are not facts. They only seem to be facts because they've been around for so long. We've lived with them so long, and it's hard to dismiss something that you've thought to be true for 20, 30 years. But you've seen this, and it's frustrated you. I guarantee it. You've seen judges or politicians say, well, we can't, they'll make these statements. It's like, we can't solve the problem just by throwing money at it. That's just nonsense. And there's all these statements that people use to guide their thinking, to make them incapable of seeing a better functional strategy. Some of them do it through ignorance, just because they've been programmed to think like that. Others do it with deliberate malice, like the Ivy Leagues people that just have everything easy and they want to protect themselves. They're straight up lying to us. So yeah, and it's a long process. So I appreciate, and that's why it's so important to talk about accountability. Because when I get something wrong, or when you perceive that I have something wrong, sometimes it's my faulty assumption emerging. Sometimes it's your faulty assumption emerging to assume that what I'm doing is wrong. And we have to have that conversation. And there's been too many times, like recently, just a couple days ago, I had somebody accuse me of toxic masculinity, and this was just in a comment on a note. And I said, "Well, I just replied. It's like, I'm sorry. I honestly don't understand why it is you think that based on what I said. I really would love the opportunity to hear more because I want to be better and I want to hear." And so and this person just didn't respond. And it's just sort of like, that's the problem. I'm like, but I guess at the same time, it's like, I know there's all these white guys that use that same argument disingenuously. And so ongoing, hopefully this will start getting better. We'll start to remove that frustration, but please just give me the opportunity to learn from you is what I really need. I need that opportunity to learn from you. And if I say something, you're like, I don't like that. Let's talk about it. And we can talk about it respectfully. But sometimes when I'm challenging, see, people mistake their assumptions for facts. And when I'm challenging an assumption, it creates that cognitive dissonance. It's uncomfortable. And you have to accept that the things you've assumed isn't true. And people, it's like putting magnets together. They deflect. People just avoid it with their brain. They slip away and they revert back to frustration. And this is a really significant thing that we have to overcome. If we're going to build coalition, we're going to actually have a good society. But again, at the root of it is white supremacy, because white supremacy indoctrinates people to believe a narrative over the facts. All right, let me go through some of these comments again. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, the people who immediately yell when you call out Dems are ridiculous. Yep, and I mean, a lot of them are fake, and I think a lot of our donations to the DNC go to bot armies that search the internet for people who are like, gee, the Republicans got to do recounts in all of 2020. Why can't we do recounts? You get hit by a bot swarm, and I think your donation money's paying for that. So donate to Fran Hong. I should actually let me just jump real quick. Am I on my page here? I'm gonna link that. Here it is. I got the article here. I want you guys to came on. Here's that wonderful interview. I just put it back. You guys are again. You're 15 minutes ahead of me in the chat. So let me just scroll through here. Howard said, "Time for a new party." Yeah, I mean, a third party, a fourth party, one vote then can be the difference. What I posted today too was I think we should demand the right to vote in primaries. I think that would completely transform our government. I think I should be able to vote in every primary, Republican, Democrat. I mean, they use our infrastructure to hold these primaries. I should have the ability to vote in every primary. And that would do a lot to dilute the just extremists who end up in our government. I think there's a really valid point there. And I think we have a free speech argument, but nobody's going to take this up. Maybe I could, if somebody knows Mark Elias, maybe we can start demanding that we can vote in all primaries. Lefty says, it's what we do as Dems. Speak truth to power. Our elected should try it. Yeah. And I would say the progressives, Lefty Prof, those of us who are actually legitimate. And because so many Democrats started in with this, well, we have to appeal to the moderate Republicans. And like I said, then vote, then run as a Republican. If all you care about is the Republicans, run as a Republican. Try to pull them left a little bit instead of trying to pull the Democrats right all the time. There's no movement for that. So we have to change that. But yeah, I mean, the academic community, although there's a lot of, like we said, these Ivy League guys are the guys that turn up in the Epstein files. So there's a lot of corruption within the academic community, but the academic concept and the academic process is what we need. I mean, the scientific process is what we need, but even scientists will say, yeah, we don't always follow our own process, and that's the problem is the process. The problem is times you get away from it. And so, yeah, more academic discourse. But yeah, you don't meet too many people like that because our entire media is filled up with assholes like Joe Rogan, who's a moron. Apologize. I'm not supposed to say that. He's deliberately and willfully ignorant. I get upset, but he goes and promotes these things that gets people killed. And then the DNC normalizes him by begging to be on his show. And they just refuse to talk to actual people of achievement. And that's what we have to change. That's a big ask. Yeah. Lefty Prof says that Apex Shill won't come back here. Yeah. Well, I mean, Waj was so polite. He has totally reasonable questions, and Jeffries was such a jerk about it. So, yeah, me talking with Adam Kinzinger, I don't know. I hope I would be polite, but he's never going to do it. I mean, that's the other thing. He's never, ever, ever going to do it. I wonder if I could just give him say, hey, let's just denounce white supremacy. Will you do that for me? Will you denounce the attack on Venezuela that illegally murdered 110 plus people? Yeah. Yeah, right, Howard. Jeffries was more mad at Waj than any Republican, and it was inappropriate. Folded like a long chair under her. It was. I mean, it was good that he revealed what it is, but just that pressuring, that bullying attitude where he could start spitting out numbers like we can't do math. It's like you're in the wrong party if you think you can do that. Scrolling down. Oh, is I haven't seen is Dolly Mama here? Oh, there's Dolly Mama. She just came. Nice to see you. There's nothing wrong with going to an Ivy League. Let's talk about that one because the Epstein files have a lot of these Ivy Leaguers in them, flat out. You're not seeing a lot of state school guys in the Epstein files. And I think just the concept of an Ivy League school, um, I think we need equality for everybody. I don't think we should have this idea that there is one group of school. The majority of the people I've met from Ivy League schools have kind of been jerks, not gonna lie. So I mean, there are cases, but even here, like there's these private schools that offer these performative charity type scholarships to people and then they just abuse them. So even like hardworking people that do manage to get into an Ivy League school, and I do know some people that have been to Ivy League schools. So obviously I'm not talking about everybody, but I think that we do need to criticize that we need to be highly critical because they claim to be at this superior level. Why shouldn't we be able to show it? So yeah, I no longer yeah, let's sit down and do the test. I don't okay, you got a piece of paper from an Ivy League school. Okay. Was that because of legacy admissions? Did you actually pass these tests? Did you pay? I mean, there's all those questions start coming in. So yeah, I think Lefty Prof makes a good point. I mean, I don't mean to just denounce anybody from that, but just the concept, there's a lot of problems there that I think we do need to talk more about. I love it. Lefty always has wonderful comments for me, and I appreciate that. Uh, there we go. Arrogant people suck, period. But I mean, there's a lot of overlap. Yeah, it is. You're right. You're right. And that is a good point to make where um there is a group that we're trying. It's sort of like and in defense of Lefty's point, I'll make another point where and like because all men are just complete assholes, really, when you come right down to it. And it's like so demonizing men I it does. I mean, I'll see that, and I'm not one of these not all men because that not all men bullshit is just a thought terminating cliche that's meant to defend the evil ones. But yeah, it hurts me. I mean, it's like when people just really are piling on men. It's like okay, it's like I'm not going to sit there and say anything about it because yeah, I recognize it. Men fucking suck. I see it as a problem. Um, and so I have to take that hit though. So I think Ivy League schools should take that hit too. I mean, I have to take it. They should have to take it too. And they should make more of an effort. It shouldn't be on up to me. I'm just calling it like I see it. I see a lot of people with Ivy League degrees in the Epstein files. I'm turning the Ivy League schools. And if they say, well, don't blame us, it's like, motherfucker, it's not about you. It's about these assholes with your Ivy League name raping kids. Do something. Put a plan in effect to stop anybody who goes to your institution from raping kids. And if they are found in those files, you revoke their degrees permanently. So I guess it's just this deflection of where we put our blame. But I mean, that was another great point by Lefty Prof. It is important to name the actual criminals and not get too general. Let me kind of roll through here. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys are out on a drive. I mean, be safe. But if you turn it on, I was listening to these lives when I've been out skiing, and that's really fun. Nice seeing everybody. Amber says been doing the same thing while doing your laundry and things like that. Yeah, but yeah, okay. Lefty Prof. I don't give the live while driving, but if you've got one of these phones that or one of these cars that'll hook up to your phone, you can just play these lives on the radio. You don't have to listen to oligarch radio. Yeah. Jeffries went to Sunny. I guess I don't know what that is, but I'll have to look that up. Yeah, but I mean, we've got a lot of these just rich families, and it's sad how the rich ones then corrupt the ones too. So that's why we need the term limits. But I think we shouldn't hesitate to call out bad behavior, and then if people like want to correct it, say, okay, what is that group that you think has been unfairly targeted doing to stop the bad behavior? I mean, we always turn it back to forward because what they want to do is turn us inward, like we're wrong to even demand consequences for kids getting raped, and we have to that's that assumption that has been established. That's establishment norm that allows us to remain entrapped by these corrupt systems. Sandra says, Fran has been outspoken advocate of the food industry forever. I guarantee she'll be a great governor. Campaigns are necessary. Yeah. Oh, if Fran gets, I mean, yeah, let's just make Fran, let's just make it happen. Everything you guys can do to get Fran. Oh my God. Just another great governor like that changes everything. Dolly Mama says, she says, good morning, everyone. Did you hear about I'm not going to get this name pronounced correctly. A blind man who died after being led by. Yeah, the and they can, and I talked about it like that too, these crimes against humanity, and that's another thing that pisses me off about the moderate Republicans. I mean, Republican policy is crimes against humanity, and so we're not gonna appeal to them, we're gonna denounce them, and we just have to use these words, "Stop doing crime." I mean, restricting reproductive health care is a crime against humanity. It's not a valid position, don't act like it is. And we need to stop that assumption of, "Oh, we have to appeal to the moderates." No, we have to denounce crimes against humanity. And once we find our voice and we find our power, and because you look at it, at the example I mentioned before, that poor woman who was in tears because her like malicious assumptions that had been indoctrinated into her brain prevented her by being all by herself in a voting booth from voting for Jasmine Crockett, who she really wanted. And because of those assumptions, she forced herself to vote for Tallarico. And that's the level of mind control. That's what Natasha's been saying the phrase mind control a lot. And that's the level of mind control that exists. You have to push those fake assumptions. They're not facts. And as a scientific background, I learned a lot about this when I was taking my physics classes. Your assumptions are wrong. Your intuition is wrong. And if you have to start identifying what things are facts and what things are assumptions. A lot fewer things are facts than you recognize. And we have to do that work. We have to go through it. Um, Listening to them while driving. Okay, yeah, we got that corrected. Uh, yeah, and yeah, I mean, we have to, and just gets dropped. The crimes against humanity keep getting dropped. Lefty Prop says, "What's wonderful about this forum is that each of us has our own area of expertise. Collaboratively, our knowledge is greater because we interact with each other and talk about things rather than dismiss them as too difficult." And yeah, I really appreciate Lefty, and you're one of the best ones at just like correcting me on things, and I'll address it. And sometimes I'll just completely concede. I think you've probably seen this in action. I'll concede. Oh, yes, that was better. I should have changed my thing here. And other times I'll push back. And we can have that process. That doesn't mean I respect Lefty, and we can have these different alternate perspectives. We're all working for the same goal. We're seeing it from different positions. And in this process, I reflect and I find better ways to spread my message too. So that's what we have to get back to. That's a healthy dialogue. And I even now I get a little worried about it if I'm just like, because it's like, am I going to make this person get angry and reject me and block me? And that's what we have to push against. I mean, we can get to a point where we have polite, academic, respectful conversations where we work, and we don't have to submit to this barricaded reality where everybody's like, well, these assumptions have been established as fact. So we end up spinning in circles. We have to open some of those doors that we've been indoctrinated never to go through. And it's going to step on some toes. That's the other thing. Because when you start challenging something somebody has taught themselves or indoctrinated themselves to believe is true without question, they're going to experience distress. So that's part of this process. But I think as long as we're respectful and we keep doing, we're getting there. Kat says, what if there's somebody who is an outspoken anti-toxic male figure, did something very toxic male, and then told me, yeah. Well, I think, yeah, I think we have to have those conversations. We have to have those conversations. I'll have to think more about that one. That's really hard. I have to have those conversations too, and we do have to grow together. Some people, I mean, there's all that's part of this. We have to have that challenge where we have to make people see that the things they're assuming. So it's like I think I'm being an anti-toxic male, and then if I do something that is very toxic, yes, I have to be told about it, and I have to be willing to listen. We'll get there, Kat. I'm sorry about that. I'll continue to try and help there. Um, Going down. There are many people calling out the Dems. Not, yeah, well, there are, but there's not enough. We need everybody calling them out. And yeah, we'll keep going. Vote for these programs. The best thing to do, though, is just vote in the progressives in the primaries. Um, I was going to say, I personally volunteer up anyone vet male toxicity allegations. Good. And I mean, yeah, we have to. I mean, just I was going to write an article just like how to solve the man problem, and we do have to completely change how our society views men. That fragile masculinity, white fragility, all those concepts are what people are talking about. Or we bow down to these false assumptions because it makes these power groups angry, and we do have to work on that. Um, Neurodivergent says, "I can't vote in primaries because Oregon isn't an open primary state." When he says the message that Democrats come out with needs to be about rebuilding the party, rebuilding the government, not go back to what we had before. Yeah, and so many of these, and they're always the rich one. I guess I'll call them the silver spoon Democrats instead of the Ivy League ones. I'll call them silver spoon, but they see themselves as entitled to political seats, government seats, and they use those seats to enrich themselves. And that's what we have to call out. And that's what we have to change because there's so much money out there. And yeah, it's like, this is where we're different. People support the right because if you support the politicians on the right, they'll turn around and just give you kickbacks in the forms of millions and millions of dollars. And then the next election, they'll have that money to get them in power again. Democrats don't do that, and it's like, I'm not asking for these Democrats that I'm supporting to turn around and give me like $1 million contract. All I want is like, to be able to survive. I want to have to pay less on my property taxes and things like that and have healthcare taken care of. So that's the difference. And I want it to help everybody, So, and that's why I have less power though, because I haven't been given the millions of dollars of corruption to expand my platform and get people elected who are awful. So, they keep going through. No choice left than reformation. Don't apologize. He is okay. Yeah. So here I am. I'm I'm out of line with the chats. I don't know what we're talking about now. Um, Somebody says I literally called Jeffrey's office and demand that he apologize because fuck off. Yeah, I think he should apologize too. He should be. I mean, accountability needs to be part of it. Um, it's not about the experts they attract to teach. Okay, correct. Okay, Lefty Prof made a great point. Because although, I mean, Epstein himself taught at Harvard. So, I mean, there's criticisms there, but you're right. I mean, this is mixing up, and this often happens. And this is also, too, why when I am critical of the Democrats, people assume I'm a right-wing active, or what do they call, saboteur or whatever. Um, Me being critical of the Ivy League system doesn't mean that I'm being critical of experts in their field. And that can be seen that way. That's sort of like, too, how when people say, I think we need to do recounts, and people say, well, you're just going to make people not go out and vote. And so there's all those arguments kind of are all mixed together. So it requires a certain amount of faith. And this is also why we need to continue to keep these lines of information open. And I just really appreciate it when I say something and people are like, I don't know if I like that. And rather than make the assumption that I am then evil, we just kind of walk through all the different factors at work so we can see how I could say something that seems to align with an evil group, and yet there's a sliver of truth in there or something that we do need to act on. So that's a wonderful comment, Lefty. Thank you. Here we go. I went to Harvard Business School, and I agree, from Roxanne. So there it is. I graduated from Yale in 1999. I'd love to talk. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. But we're set. I think we are scheduled to talk pretty soon. You're gonna Deidre must be. I keep wanting to get that right. And yes, but I mean, we can't deny that there's a certain amount of elitism among people in Ivy League schools, right? I mean, that's just a fact. People that have gone to Ivy League schools are dismissive of people like me who've been to state schools. So let's absolutely talk about that. I think that's going to be a wonderful conversation. But yeah, I've had wonderful conversation. I have friends who are people from Ivy League schools too. It's just that we can have constructive criticisms about these things. Yeah, Howard, I learned more at state schools than private. But they have been overrun by legacy admissions, and I bet Deidre has something to say about that too. Even in state schools, I found that there are these asshole rich kids who weren't there to work, weren't there to study. And Deidre said, I agree with you about the vast majority of Ivy Leaguers, though. So good. I think we're covering the ground. School and hierarchy from June and July. School and hierarchy goes back to that indoctrinated idea of competition, which begins at birth. Oh, competition is a major pillar of white supremacy. Even though they rig all the competitions, white supremacists will never submit to an honest competition. Miranda says, if we vote for someone other than a Democrat or Republican, are we going to screw ourselves and another Republican will win? I mean, take case by case basis. In some cases, that might be the case. Other cases, no. But I think we do need a third party. I keep saying in the red states, the Democrats have no chance of winning, and they don't even run people. So I think if we have a third party that starts in these red states, that proves progressive ideas are highly popular, and if you start winning some of those seats that would have otherwise gone to Republicans, and they're willing to work with the Democrats, they will be able to prove how the establishment Democrats aren't really even interested. They're most interested in blocking progressive ideas. They'll be exposed for that. We gave them all the power they needed in 2020. They could have stopped this, and they didn't. That tells me everything we need to know, and that's a fact. It's not an assumption. That's a fact. Roxanne says, those of us who got there from the working class, when we get there, we come up hard against the legacy types. We don't really get accepted into the clique. Yep, I've heard of that. Oh, great. Walter, did you read my post about it's all men? Yeah, good. I haven't read it yet. I'll look for it or send it to me after this, or tag me. And when you write something like that, tag me in it. I'll respond to it too. And yes, it is all men. There's a man problem. I mean, it is. We don't have to have it like this. It can be fixed, but it is a problem, you know. And yeah, I mean, it hurts, but it's true. I mean, I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about my kids. It's not about me. It's about stopping children from being raped. And I have to, if I have to take a hit to my personal psyche to stop children from being raped, I'm happy to do that. So we need to have that. But I also do need, when I make a mistake, for people to not just ghost me and we continue to talk, because I can reach other men. I can reach other people. So I don't want to be completely dismissed or left out of the conversation. I'm an accessory, and I like to support. I had Melissa and Fran on yesterday. I want to use my platform to support these brilliant women. When I first started on as a Boost nominator on Medium, the first 50 or so articles I nominated were all written by women, mostly from marginalized groups. So if every time I'm in a position where I can help, that's what I try to do. That's the real action I try to take. And I try to be better too about like stopping other men from over talking women. I've tried to do that. So yeah, there's a big process there, but yeah, I don't want to be cut out from it. I want to be able to help, and I do have to stand up, and I'm not asking for gratitude, but I want um to be able to have an open conversation so that I can learn how to do better. That's really what it comes down to. Howard says many Ivy Leaguers come from wealthy families, so there's a connection. J Mole, get nonprofit status for being a societal good, then run the schools as USU business with money going to the top. That's above my pay grade. That's an interesting concept. I have to spend more time on that. The original Nicole, focus, please. Well, we are all yapping at each other, just what they want. These alkalites of Curtis Yarvin occupying our government and the billionaires who fund them are rapidly moving towards a totalitarian government. They've done with democracy. They're dismantling it before our eyes and behind the scenes. As the people fight one another, I don't know that word. I'm not going to say it. If a government is moving towards Yavin's vision now, red lights, yes, yes. And there's a lot of ways we can be active, though. And I don't consider this just yapping. This is collaborative focus on what needs to go forward, because you can't just tell people go do something and then they don't have any strategy. And if their minds are closed, I'm like, you tell people to go do something, they vote in a primary and then they vote for Tallarico over Crockett. We have to do that work, and that work requires yapping, as you put it. And I think this is important conversation. I think these podcasts, I think these discussions are very, very important. I think they're critical. We need to do them every day. I do this in the morning to determine my actions and my activisms in the afternoon. This helps settle me. I like to get criticism and constructive criticisms from all you wonderful people to change how I'm thinking to be more effective. Otherwise, if we don't stop, I mean, it's like, yeah, red lights are flashing. It's urgent. But we also have to stop and have a plan, because we've been indoctrinated to do stuff that hurts us. So we have to overcome that indoctrination too. Kat says, hi, Howard. Lefty Prof. Good idea, Maul. Though Harvard did give free tuition to all people making under K a year last year, right? Oh, okay. Deirdre says State University of New York. Good. So yeah, I mean, there's bad people that come from state universities too. No question. They want to avoid change. Yeah, you don't have to listen to Oligarch Radio. Yeah, that's true. You don't have to. You can listen to me. I'm not Oligarch Radio. Oligarchs don't give me any money or any money at all. All right. Let me keep scrolling down. My car got repossessed. Oh, I'm sorry, Kat. A couple days. I was just checking, showered, Yeah. I'm sorry about that, Kat. And things are so hard right now. And Lefty says, you make me think too, Walter. I'm still thinking about our discussion. Yes, I am. I am too, actually. I've had a lot of conversations about that. We should do a live sometime, Lefty. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to show your face. Some people are just like, I like to comment, but I'm going to hide. I mean, and so I don't want to pressure you if you have legitimate reasons, as you probably do, for not being live. But if you want to go live, that'd be open. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kat. I love you too. Be well. These are hard times. And this is Fat News Daily says, honestly, you're so amazing because you're even trying. You're doing the work to try on this. So thank you for holding that space. Most men aren't, and it is sad. Sometimes when people are like, "Hey," it gives me hope that you're doing this, and I'm like, "Oh, it's. I wish more were," and hopefully we'll get there. And I think you see slow change, and all of a sudden it explodes sometimes. I mean, progress happens so, and then all at once. So hopefully that'll happen. But I have to be held accountable. All the candidates I'm talking to, they keep mentioning that. Hold me accountable. And it's so easy to get a little bit more visibility and to have that go to your head. That happens all the time. So that accountability is so important. Thank you, Lefty Prof, for agreeing with Fat News Daily's lovely comment. Okay, Kat says, I just got a job. I can't get to the job without the car, but at the same time, this is a terrible time. Yeah. We'll figure out a way to. That's hard, Kat. I hope you get that figured out. That's every there's so much stuff right now. And I think an important point of emphasis, we're going through economic terrorism right now. That's another just right-wing view. And when people start saying we have to listen to moderate Republicans, they have a policy of economic terrorism. Our struggling is by design. They're trying to hurt us to make us powerless, so we don't have time to think. So we're always desperate. So we're always just doing what we're told. We don't have time to listen to whether the order is legal or not. We just are expected to comply because because we're working 6 jobs or up to schedule. And if we get so much as a head cold, a common cold, our whole life falls apart, and we can't live like that anymore. So it's not you, Kat. I just wanted to emphasize that. I mean, it's hard, but it's the injustice of this era. Don't waste that energy because you have limited energy already with self-recrimination. Everybody's struggling right now. We're going to be struggling for quite a while. We got to help each other, have community, come together, find support groups anywhere you can, food banks, anything you need to do. Sometimes we think the food banks are for other people. It's like, no, if you're struggling, you get to go use that. That's what that means. And a lot of white supremacy indoctrination is thinking we can never ask for help. So go ask for help. Go find help where you can. Get the help you can. Get through these hard times. And then emerge. And then, hopefully soon we'll start making bigger changes. These changes are happening slowly, but they're happening all over. We're talking about a lot of important things that are coming on. So, yeah, just don't get down on yourself. Do what you need to do to get through this hard time. That applies to everybody. Reject these assumptions of white supremacy that make you blame yourself when other people are abusing you. Lefty Prof says, like when I did my grad work, it was about who would be handling my dissertation, whose name would be on it. That's all I can name you. Yeah, problems. Lefty says, I completely agree with you about Ivy Leagues and their condescension. I almost said condensation. The funny thing is some of the dumbest people, well, see, you can't use that word. I've met, most ignorant people I've met have PhDs, and that's just a whole nother issue. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you, Sandra. Restack, but restack that 10 more times. Amber says, undergrad at Berkeley. I keep hearing good things about Berkeley. The system has, I'm good. I'm down to the end too. The system has definitely been corrupted by money, and there are definitely prestigious professors, visiting lecturers, and admin who are protected and above accountability there too. And just a movement towards more accountability is important. And everybody takes hits. Everybody does when you take accountability. And that's part of the problem with this president is he thinks he's above any form of accountability, so it allows him to do just deplorable acts. When they're saying, do you think the president of the United States is honest? And Pam Bondi said, well, of course, he's the president of the United States, and that's not an answer. It's like, dude, the office he holds doesn't make him honest. His choices make him honest. And that's the kind of issue we're in. We're in so many cases. Because somebody is a tenured professor doesn't mean they're qualified or they're capable. All those different things. This engagement is important from June and July. Terry Ann says, thank you, Walter. No, heading out to work. Okay, Terry, be safe at work. Amber says, yes, Lefty, I said this a lot. Some of the least competent people and most ignorant people I've ever met have PhDs and MDs. And yeah, people, that's the, have you ever heard the invisible gorilla, it's called, where this is an interesting thing. Go find it on YouTube. Well, they'll take a, what's it called? An x-ray of somebody, like a heart x-ray or whatever. I don't know, a scan. And they'll give it to a professional. And they'll say, what do you see in this? And the person will look at the x-ray and say, well, it looks like this, this, and this. And they'll say, do you see the gorilla? He says, what? And then they hold it back and they stuck a gorilla on there. And we become so focused on the things we're looking for. They discovered a gigantic gorilla sticker on the x-ray they didn't even see. They don't even see it. And then they're like, holy shit. So go look into that kind of thing. And this is because these people with PhDs and MDs, they're just so hyper fixated on their area of expertise, that they sometimes disregard just common sense stuff. They need to take a step back every now and then. And that's the importance of diversity, diverse perspectives. Shake you out of that rut when you're just so focused on something, what you've been trained to see or believe, that you just disregard other things. Yeah. Oh, good. So great. We'll have to set up a live sometime, Lefty Prof. Be in touch. Done one about addiction. Join. And then great. So we'll do that. I'm on at the end of the comments. I'm gonna leave it. I still got the furnace guy coming again today. They probably called me 20 times, but I wanted a break. They can wait for me to call back for a change. But again, everybody, thank you so much. And please, please, please go restack that. Let me put that in the chat one last time. Whoever is still there. There is the link, and that's the talk with Fran Hong. I would just love it if you could support her, make that interview get as big as possible, get as many people as possible to see it, so they contribute to her campaign because she's not taking money from oligarchs. The problem is that money buys ads, the money does everything. I need money to live. I need money to pay for my furnace and my breaks. So anybody who can become a paid supporter, that's always, always really appreciated. At the same time, I know we are the target of economic terrorism right now because of the Republicans. They normalize crimes against humanity as their policy, and we have to push back against it. We have to support candidates like Fran Hong, who will fight for the working class people, for a better society, a society we deserve. We need to get rid of the centrist Democrats who don't answer questions. So thank you again, Dalai Lama. Thank you. I'm going to leave it now. Love you all. I missed you yesterday. I'll post this in a little bit. Keep coming back. Keep sharing. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you all. Have a great day, and we'll all rise together. Bye bye.